Wow. So grateful that you are here. We are going to have a great book club. So I wanted to just open it up just a little bit early. People are coming in. We have a few attendees already. And again, kind of early. How are you guys feeling today, Larry?
Oh,
And
I'm
Denise,
great, thank you. Yeah. It's Tuesday, right? Yeah. It's
Yeah,
all
I
good.
I know Tuesday, right? Thank you so much for being flexible. We've changed the time on this particular episode, so we're so excited. We've got a full group of people coming in, and I'm excited. Hey, you all on today's book club. This is very special. Denise Sprung, Larry's awesome wife here. Um, happened to just ship us um, some gifts and some giveaways today in this amazing box, too, by the way. I was like, who does that? I said to Larry, right? I said to Larry when he first came in, I was like, Larry, you're so on brand. And then this box, I mean, you get an A+ on the marketing side.
So you were a podcast. So every podcast guest gets a smaller version of that box after they take their time to be with us on the Midland Money Mindset. So that's a larger version that goes to new families we onboard.
Oh, that's wonderful. And speaking of Midlet Money Mindset, right now, everybody is I'm going to press enter here. And all of Larry's connections. If you're not connected to Larry Sprung, you need to be, because Larry, you put out some great content, both in the financial planning aspect and again, what you and Denise are doing, how you're parenting your two boys. I get so much from you. I get a lot of vibrancy in the feed. I never know where you're going to be, what hockey rink, what airplane you two are going to be on. So it's just really super exciting. So everybody make sure that you're connected. All the links are in the chat.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could guess where we're going to be next. I don't know.
Yeah.
That might have to be the next one. Instead of guess what rink I'm at, we'll have to guess what city I'm going to next.
Yeah. So you don't want to give us a spoiler alert?
Well, I'll tell you. This week, Thursday, we're heading to Minnesota.
Okay.
So,
And that's where your son Jeremy is?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh God, I got it right.
Yes. Yes, he
It's
is. Yeah.
actually it's a milestone for us. It is our Jeremy is a senior in high school, so we'll be our last set of parent teacher conferences because it is fall family weekend. So it will be our last set of parent teacher conferences.
That's I it's hard. I miss parent teachers. I miss all of those things. I'm sure our attendees too feel the same way. I want to give a big shout out to Andrew, Anthony, Bonnie, Jamie, Jim, Lauren, Lori. Everybody else is coming on in. So in the meantime, I just want to read some housekeeping announcements here, give you guys a brief introduction to Larry. And again, within this box too, we've got some giveaways today. I'm really super, super excited. And then of course we have the drawing for the $50 gift certificate and the free book. So we're going to give away lots of stuff today for a really good cause, which we're going to talk about. So thanks everybody for attending the Intentionally Friends Book Club. We are coming live to you in King of Prussia, right from Intentionally Studios. And our special guest is Larry Sprung. He's author of, let me get the book right here. And thank you, because I have my own autographed copy. How exciting. Financial Planning Made Personal, How to Create Joy and the Mindset for Success. It's available on Amazon as well as Audible. And Larry reads the whole book,
Yes,
which
I
is
do.
so you know what? I have a gripe, and that is that when people have their books that they don't record it. I think one of the best things, one of the best aspects of Financial Planning Made Personal is the fact that Larry, as you're reading it, it really felt personal to me. So again, if you guys have any Audible credits, get the book on Audible as well. It's well worth your time. And I'll be introducing Larry, but just a couple of housekeeping announcements. You all know me, Chief Community here at Intentionally. Today's host. I want to give a big shout out to our CEO who's over there. This was her idea, right? To shine a light on the transformative thought leaders, thinkers, and authors like Larry in the financial services industry who are transforming what our industry continues to look like. Please make sure that you're subscribed at intention.ly. That's our website. Get the latest updates. Obviously, you'll all get replays from today. But we've lined up some really incredible book club meetings and guests for 2024. Larry being the first of 2024. So indeed, again, such an honor, such an honor. I put the links in the chat. Please make sure that you're connected to Larry. And then you could also go to Financial Planning Made Personal. You'll find all of the other sublinks to get the book. And we will be giving away at least 3 copies during today. If you have any questions, technical issues, send it in the chat. And this book meeting is being recorded. And if you would like to recommend an author, you can send it to bookclub@growintentionally.com. Lastly, again, this is financial services, right? We appreciate your time. This program is educational in nature. We are not offering any financial advice specific to your circumstances. Please consult with a registered financial professional. Larry is a registered financial professional in case you need one. He runs a great firm. So I want to introduce Larry in a second. How are we feeling, everybody? Give it to me in the chat. How about some thumbs up, some stars? Are we ready for today? Tina's joined us. Great. Thank you great to see you.
Tina, I can offer everyone a tip. If you want the audio version of Financial Planning Made Personal, you can actually use your library card, and via the Libby app, you can request your library, and we have a number of families that have done that. If you want, in the chat, I will drop in the ISBN number for the audio version. You pop that into the Libby app, request it, and our library did it within like a day.
Awesome. Awesome. Bonnie, love the rock and roll spirit. Yes. Kina, great to see you in the feed. Let's go. I'm going to read this quick bio. Oh, yep. Kina has the Libby app. Denise, that's a huge tip right there. Huge tip. Wow.
I run a book blog for fun. You get all sorts of random information.
Love it. Love it. Ricky, great to see you again. We've got our dream team of participants here. So again, let me kick this off with a quick bio of Larry, if there is such a quick one. Larry Sprung, Lawrence Sprung, CFP, the founder and wealth advisor at Midland Financial, author of the best-selling book, Financial Planning Made Personal, host of the Midland Money Mindset, his own podcast. It's been in existence for a couple of years now. Phenomenal guest. He's a phenomenal interviewer. So make sure you're connected to Larry that way and subscribing to his pod. In 2004, Larry founded Midland Financial. And I don't want to just... There's a special meaning behind the name. That's our first poll question. So I'm going to skip over this part. But wow, such a passionate way that he created his business. And the Midland team helps financial families serve to design their future while planning for joy along the way. Remember to ask yourself, trademark. This is trademark, by the way. You can see Larry's shirt, right? What did you do today that brought you joy? I can't wait to dig into this. Larry, you've seen him, heard him. He appears on podcasts, media. He's spent years on Experian Twitter credit channel panel. He's presented, talked about financial planning, talked about all kinds of causes and things that he's passionate about. We'll get into that in a second. He's received awards, no surprise there. Investopedia's Top Advisor Award in 2022, Investopedia Top Advisor 100 in 2021 and 2023. He was a finalist for the Invest in Others Community Service Awards. And outside the office, I'll tell him, I would love for him to explain it in his words. He and Denise are amazing advocates and serve an incredible foundation. I think it's better to come from you than me. I want to really honor Keith's memory here. So Larry, if you would kind of give us a speak about that first.
Yeah, so thank you, Tina, so much for having me, and to not only you but intentionally as well. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Yeah, so what Tina's referring to is Denise and I lost her brother, my brother-in-law, in 2004, about 2 months before I launched Midland Financial, and he suffered from bipolar disorder. And unfortunately, we lost him to suicide. And since that day, we've become staunch advocates about mental health and about suicide prevention. And we decided no better way to honor his memory and his legacy through helping people by forming the Keith Milano Memorial Fund, which sits at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And all of the net proceeds from the sales of the books, whether it's hard copy or audio, is going to his fund. So we didn't write the book to make money. We made it to share our story and to support a cause that's very close to our hearts and many others who are suffering or who have lost somebody to suicide.
Our hearts go out to both of you. And I think that it's so honorable that you wrote this book here in Keith's memory. And again, you heard Larry correctly. All of the proceeds are going to support the Keith Milano Memorial Fund. What an incredible reason actually to write a book, right? Everybody, thank you for those hearts for Larry and Denise.
Thank you.
Larry also too, talk to us a little bit about hockey, right? We're likely to find you on the financial planning circuit as well as the hockey. Can you just talk a few minutes of that, and then we'll get into our first question?
Yeah, so I mean, it's in our blood as a family. I grew up playing hockey. I played through college, and even post college, I've had the unique opportunity to play with professional hockey players who are currently playing, ones that are retired, and I've also had the opportunity to play alongside the Israeli national team, which means more to me now than ever before, based upon the events of the last several months, having the opportunity to play with them as a guest player. And my kids have taken it up, and now they're 17 and 20, and we, throughout their childhood, we were traveling all over the place, with them. And it's just become it's not a sport for us, it's a lifestyle. And many times on the weekends or during our free time, you could probably find us at a rink, whether it's going to a New York Ranger game or watching our own kids play, whether in high school or college. So it's become a lifestyle, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned some things also too in the book. I like how you're combining your life philosophies with how you manage your clients. I want to start by talking about, and I said this in the open, about how you've come up with the name for your company. And so I want to put out our first poll question. And again, thanks. Jamie says, what an incredible cause. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that. I agree. Everything that the Sprungs do is pretty incredible and pretty intentional. So not only the book, we're going to get into that in just a second, but the name of Midland Financial. So yeah, Larry, you want to talk to us? 100% so far we've got. You guys want to take a guess in the poll? Where did the name Midland Financial come from? And so far, I think you have a lot of followers on today's episode, because everybody's getting it right. Okay, so we'll end it right here.
Either
you
that
want
or they read the book, maybe.
that too. You want to talk a little bit about that? I think
Yeah.
that's such a great starting off point for the book.
Yeah, so actually, I talk about it very often because it's probably the most asked question we get here at Midland. Is many would think it's how much money do I need for retirement, or how much money do I need to send my kids to college? But the most asked question is where does the Midland name come from? It's not your last name. Nobody works at the firm with that name. Where did it come from? So and we also go into a little more detail on the first episode of our podcast. But, the short version is MIT was Denise's grandfather, Mitchell, and LIN was my mother, Linda. And unfortunately, they both passed away literally within hours of each other. And at the time that they passed away, Denise and I did not know each other. We met several months later. And when we were kind of reconciling why we were where we were and what we were doing, we came to realize that, her grandfather and my mother literally passed away within hours of each other. So when we were thinking about, launching the firm and looking at that and a name, I certainly didn't want to do what many people in our profession do and name it after me, because I didn't want it tied to me. It wasn't about me. It was about really the families that we serve. So we looked back at that story, and it provided a great opportunity, because Mitchell, her grandfather, was a great guy. He was one of those people that when the ice cream man came down the block, he would buy ice cream for everybody. He wasn't a wealthy guy. It just brought him a lot of joy to do that. And my mom was a warrior. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in her 30s, and unfortunately she passed away at 47. But I never saw somebody who entered life and approached it with such a positive attitude, even in her darkest moments. And she just had the qualities that her and Denise's grandfather, that we wanted to replicate in a firm and really stand on, being family first. And that's really what brought those names together to form Mitlin, and it's been a great ride ever since.
Again, you guys, I think, are getting the largest amount of hearts here. And partially on the marketing side too, is, we get a lot of times that either companies are going through a name change. And, one of the biggest things that we say is, pick something that resonates with you. When we ideate and we throw around lots of different, concepts. And I love how, again, you've woven these core concepts into the book. So as you were writing the book, again, you talked about the fact that, well, again, one of the most touching features is the fact that the proceeds are all being donated to the Keith Milano Memorial Fund. But, what inspired you? Was there a reason beyond that inspired you to write the book, and who is the book for?
Yeah, so I mean, the book was really a culmination of, years of being in this profession. And I think when I want to put my finger on it, it really comes down to, a lot of the pundits, or quote unquote pundits, that are out there that, go out online and on TV, et cetera, that pontificate about, hey, if you want to do this, everybody should be doing this, or everybody should be doing that. And it really just irks me, because, after doing this for as long as I have, I've realized and know that everybody can't do it this way, and everybody can't do it that way. It's really personal. So, looking at some of those pundits that talk about, for example, oh, you shouldn't be spending $5 a day on that name brand cup of coffee, because if you didn't do that and you put it in a Roth IRA, in 20 years, you'd have an extra $30,000, $40,000, right? So, through my experience and hearing that, I watched my mom pass away at the age of 47. And when you work with families and you're planning for retirement and their future, and I'm not saying you don't and you shouldn't plan for your future, you should, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't make it to that future. So there has to be a balance between, building for that future and also enjoying today. And if that cup of coffee brings you a lot of joy and you budget for it and it's within your budget, buy it, enjoy it, because you know what? That extra $30,000 in your 60s, you may or may not get to enjoy it then. So that was really the impetus behind the book. And really, it's for anybody and everybody who is thinking about planning or thinking about their future, and how they're going to financially support themselves today, tomorrow, and in the future, and really speaks to them in a way that talks to them about finding a way to balance saving for that future, but at the same time, utilizing funds for today to get joy and get that joy out of their life.
Larry, I just got to tell you, thank you, because you are the only, one of the only CFP's financial planners that has ever blessed a cup of coffee from Starbucks. And
Listen, I enjoy it myself, so I can't be a hypocrite here. I'm one of those people that buys the $5 cup of coffee.
I love it. Thank you very much for allowing us. Again, today's broadcast is about spreading of joy. So within the book, obviously, Mitlin Financial is a Carson firm. And so you've got New York Times bestselling author, Ron Carson, founder and CEO of Carson Group, who writes the foreword to the book. And he talks about this concept about true wealth. Again, so many of these, the way the phraseology throughout the book really made me reflect on my own life. And I love this idea of true wealth. It was a term that I hadn't heard before. But, could you describe that and define that concept and, let everybody know, what is the meaning of true wealth?
Yeah. So first of all, it was an honor and a privilege to, have Ron accept and write the forward. And I think he did a fantastic job. And, we've only been a Carson partner for about 3.5 years now. And I've been a follower of Ron's for a long time. So I'm so incredibly grateful for the fact that he, took the time out of his schedule to do that. And, it's something he talks about all the time, finding your freedom, true wealth. And I don't think just like financial planning's personal, I think that whole concept of true wealth is personal. And, there's really no right or wrong. To some people, it may be a financial number that defines their true wealth. Now, some may say that that's right. Some may say that that's wrong, but that's what and how they define true wealth. So that's right to them. Others may define true wealth as just having the freedom and flexibility to be able to do what they want, when they want, and not really be concerned about, their income or, how much money's coming in. So it's very much, personal, just like, retirement. Some people may never want to retire. My idea of true wealth is just knowing the day or days I wake up and I don't necessarily have to go to work because the financial stability is there. But I probably still will. But just because I'm working doesn't mean I haven't found that true wealth. And, for example, for me, true wealth over the last like 5 years has been the ability as my kids have grown up and left the nest to be able to go where they are and be able to enjoy watching them play as a parent, as a spectator, and spend that time with them. And that to me is true wealth. And everybody's going to define that differently. But the important thing is to find what true wealth means to you and then work towards that.
I love that concept, and I would love to get our attendees a little bit involved. I want to do our first giveaway. And so if you could put in the chat, I guess the first person to put in the chat, like what true wealth means, to you. Let's kind of have some fun with that concept. I love the idea that you're putting all of these financial concepts. Bonnie Bell says to sleep at night. Okay, Bonnie, you're getting the first. Here it is. I wanted to do this unboxing here with you. Again, the Sprungs were never looking at financial statements, a stress-free retirement, freedom and peace of mind. I love these answers. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure we got Bonnie, we've got Patty, we've got Jim, and we've got Anthony. Okay, so you guys, I have at least four, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. Okay. So Bonnie's getting this. What did you do today that brought you joy? Again, this is trademark, this Midland Money Mindset. What very impressive over here. And then we have got Jim, you're getting a t-shirt. Stress-free retirement is getting a t-shirt. Again, really nice quality too, I have to say. And then we've got 2 books we've got a book for Anthony, Freedom and Peace of Mind, and then with a pen. And then also, oh, did I get Patty up there? All you guys, and Keena too. You guys are all getting something. Thank you again. Midlands have been the Sprungs have been extremely, extremely generous. Okay, great. Thank you for that. I love the way that you're taking these approaches and you're weaving in the personal. You want to give us a lens into, is there been success stories after the book? Any, like whether or not they be clients or friends or complete strangers that have purchased the book? You do have a very active Amazon page. You've got a lot of good ratings there. Just curious if you've heard like somebody's just reached out from the blue and created joy in your day.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, I'll tell you, the biggest impact we've had is with the families we serve and their kids, their children. Showing them,
Mm.
and I think one of the most powerful sections was, the fact that we show the difference between starting to save at the age of 20 and saving for 20 years versus starting at the age of 40 and doing the same, and showing the benefits of compound interest has been an eye opener for the families that we serve. And they have been so gracious in saying that, hey, this has been really impactful. I didn't realize how much of a difference this could make in a person's financial situation. I wish I knew this 20, 30, 40 years ago. And what they're doing now is they're sharing that with their kids. Maybe not the whole book even, but even just
Right.
that section, and saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Joe, Jane, look at this and tell me what you think. And they're contacting us, opening up accounts and getting started early as a result. And the impact that I know we're going to have on those families and those kids and their futures is tremendous, because I've seen it with my own kids and them starting early. So that's been a huge, benefit of having the book and putting that in writing. And, the number of thank yous that we're getting, because, as you know, if you're a parent out there, if we tell our kids that, hey, this makes sense, do this, it's like, all right, whatever, I'll think about this later on. But you show them a book from a third party and they're like, oh, let me read this. Let me dive in. And that's what's happening right now.
And along the lines, I just would say one of the distinguishing features about financial planning made personal is the fact that each chapter ends with the following. And you could all see here right now, I'm referencing page 136. The book is actually divided into two parts, 237 pages. Fantastic. You guys know I like this when it fits in when it fits in your purse or your backpack to get on a plane, train, or automobile. But it's this idea of making it personal, and then some doing a summation of the action steps. How did you come up with that idea? I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, we just wanted to make it somewhat interactive and position it in a way that it wasn't just that you're going to read it and then put it away when you're done. So the whole idea is, hopefully we're provoking thought in each of those chapters, and then giving you questions to think about and kind of ponder, and use it as an opportunity to reflect on your own situation within the framework of that chapter. And each of the last questions in those thoughts are, what did you do today that brought you joy, so that it brings it back to that joyful aspect. I will also tell you that we're taking it one step further, and later this year we are going to be launching a workbook that's going to go along with the book, so people could go a little bit more in depth and potentially use it as a planner slash thought provoker, so they can keep track more or less of what's going on in their life and how they're making progress towards those specific goals.
That's amazing. I think also because you and Denise are, parents to two, I don't even want to say boys to men, right? That you understand the importance of passing on this logic and this information and making an impression early in life. I think that's a fantastic reason to have the book and to be able to extend it to, G2, G3. I wish that I had this book when I was going to college. I wish that I had this book earlier in life, and I didn't, but I'm glad that, it's something that I could give my kids, who are also too grown. They have their own retirement accounts. A lot of the things that you talk about in the book, I was like, oh yes, we could check the box on there. So then what was your favorite chapter to write, and why? And before we get into that answer, again, I want to remind everybody in the chat please, any attendees that are here, if you ask a question, you know that your name is entered to win that $50 gift card and a copy of Larry's book. So any questions, please. Larry can take any questions on just about any topic. So it
Yes.
doesn't even have to be the book. If you're curious about any of the work that he's doing, I would love to see that question. But what was the favorite chapter and why?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, the discover your why chapter was probably one of my favorites in terms of, you know, sitting down. It made me reflect about what my why was for creating this, you know, company and starting Midland, and what the goals were and the why behind the book. So I think, and I think at times that changes, you know, throughout your life. It's, you know, your why 20 years ago may not be your why today, and you may have to make adjustments. So I really enjoyed that chapter just because it made me reflect on where I am and where I've been, putting things in perspective, and, you know, having a higher level of gratitude for, you know, the last 20 years or so. And I think the second piece was, you know, that starting early, because, you know, the piece that you just mentioned, I think financial education is so important. And I've seen in my years in this profession, you know, time and time again, oh, you know, the education system's gonna, you know, make strides and they're not doing it. You know, I'm gonna be completely, it's not happening. Your kids, your children, your grandchildren, they're not gonna learn this stuff in school. It's just not gonna happen. It's gonna be up to us and the people that we know to educate them and pass that along. So if we can make that easier for those people that maybe don't have the wherewithal to have those conversations or don't know themselves, we want to make ourselves available to help educate them and, you know, bring it to the next generation so that they can then forward that knowledge on to the next generation. And I think that's going to help us make major strides to increasing that financial education aspect that has gone nowhere for a very long time, in my opinion.
I want to say thank you for that answer, Larry. And then I love, love, love this question. And Bonnie, this is awesome. This is awesome. Larry, do you have a well-tested tip on how to introduce the topic of financial planning to teenagers without getting the eye roll? It's brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant question, Bonnie, again.
I don't know if I can say it for sure without the eye roll, because I think no matter what, you're going to get the eye roll.
Oh,
But I think that there's ways to show them. You have to show them empirical evidence, such as like the chart that's in the book, you know, shows how much more money you have by starting early. You know, they're reasonable. They may not admit it to you when you show it to them right then and there, but if you set it down and leave even just that chart with them, I think it'll have the impact, and you just have to reinforce it. The thing that I've done with my kids and started with them as teenagers was I made a deal with them that if they worked during the summer, once they were 14, had working papers, because that's what you need in New York to get W-2 income, Denise and I made them a deal that whatever they would put, and you know, if you're in the position to do this, it's helpful. If not, you can just have them do it on their own. But we offered them to whatever they would put in their Roth IRA from their earnings, we would basically match it and put that back into their account. So essentially, it didn't cost them anything, right? Didn't end up costing them, but we wanted them to open up the account. We wanted them to see the money going out of the account and funding it. And then we would more or less reimburse them for that deposit. And what ended up happening is, and where we got their interest was, as they started investing those monies, and we helped them and worked with them to decide where to invest it and how to invest it, and they saw it start growing, and then they saw it shrink a little bit, but mainly over, you know, a year, 2, 3, they saw it growing. It got them to understand that it's not necessarily about the money I'm putting in. It's about the money I'm putting in and all the growth that I'm getting alongside of it. So I think once you start educating and then showing them and getting them involved, they have, a vested interest, and it helps get that interest and understanding a little bit deeper with them.
It's amazing. So you had like an employee match almost, like,
Yeah.
what a concept. What a
We were going to have to
fantastic
fund their,
concept.
at 14,
Yeah,
15, you have to fund their summers anyway, right? You're going
for
to
sure.
support them anyway. So might as well put it in a way that gets them to put some money in a Roth or an IRA, whatever makes the most sense for you. And then them start to see the benefits of how that works and what it's all about.
That's brilliant. So Bonnie says the compound interest charts are very powerful message. And then you could find them on page 34 and 35 of the book. And Anthony asked a really great question. I'm going to launch the question about retirement. And then Larry, if it's okay, we've got a couple questions on that here. But first, and again, this is from the book. A 2022 Fidelity study found out that the average 65-year-old female couple entering retirement should expect to spend how much on medical costs, assuming they've enrolled in parts A, B, and D. So we're getting all kinds of answers here. So you can choose among, so right now 315,000 is getting the most votes. Second is 515,000 votes. So I'll give you yep, still the same composition. We're going to end the poll in just a second. Larry, do you want to give us the answer to that question before
Yeah.
I'm going to end the poll here, and then we'll get to Anthony's question about retirement. Oh, so interesting. It's funny. So we've got the first answer, 215,000. We've got 13%. The middle answer, 315,000, 75%. And the last answer, 515,000, 11%. We're going to end the poll. Larry, could you tell us what's the actual
Yeah,
number?
so the right answer is the 75%, the 315,000 for the combined couple. I believe the breakdown's 165 for females for the female of the couple, and 150 for the male. So health expense is probably the biggest variable you can have, and it's one of the biggest unknowns as well that can potentially derail a financial plan.
I could attest to that, everybody, ladies and
Right.
gentlemen. Again, if you know, you know. It's interesting because we're seeing a lot of like, in the feed. Okay, let's get to Larry's question, and then we have another one in education. So this question about retirement: what are the top reasons you see people fail regarding the non-financial side of retirement? And again, that is something that you talk about in the book. That's a great question, Anthony. Thank you for offering it. Larry,
Yeah.
what's your advice?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I think the biggest fail there is most people don't plan for that, right? Everybody's preoccupied. Most people, I should say, are preoccupied. And unfortunately, the advisors they go to are also preoccupied with the financial aspects, the monetary aspects, and nobody's thinking about or talking to them about, well, okay, you've worked for this company, you've been in this role for the last 30 or 40 years. What's your plan if you're retiring tomorrow or next week or next month? What's the plan? How are you going to replace those 40 hours a week, which is a hefty amount of time, and they're not having those conversations. So what we talk about is starting just like you do your financial plan, starting especially 5-10 years early, starting to hone in on what the financial number is that you need. Also start putting in place and making sure you have, the social circles in place, that you have hobbies, things that you're going to enjoy doing when you stop working, whether that be, golf, if that's something you can do every day, great. Most, a lot of people necessarily can't. So what are you going to do in addition to that? Are there other social circles? Are you going to do charitable work? You have to start working on getting that in place. And I think where most people fail, or if they fail in that regard, it's because they just haven't planned. And rightfully so, right? You don't have the time because you're working so much. Sometimes you don't have the time to build those social circles and create the mental and social aspects. So it's important to intentionally work towards that, just like you're working towards those financial goals.
I think it's a good time also too. I did bring up another poll question, and then again we'll get to that next question, and that is from Maria. Love her question too. I have heard that actually that building your community and your social circle expands your longevity. It's one of the most important things, right? It's been scientifically proven in that actually works as a strategy. So here is a question about retirement. This was also too from your book, Larry. Can you guess the number one reason what most retirees want to devote their time to once they retire? And we've got 4 answers here. So far, the biggest, we've got a very smart audience at the Essentially Friends Book Club. All of these are correct, by the way. We're just having some fun here because they just differ in, number 1, number 2, number 3. They're all correct. But you want to give us the answer, Larry? What's the number one reason? What's the number one reason and activity that most
Yeah,
retirees want to devote themselves to?
It's spend time with friends and family is
Mm.
really or quality time with friends and family. That's really, the major goal. Nobody really comes to you and says, I want to, have $3 million, set aside in retirement or numerical. It's retirement's about, spending time with those relationships that you have.
And that's where this whole idea of financial planning made personal. Again, I found that one of the things that you do a very good job in your book, Larry, is that here there's a financial planning concept, whether or not that be saving for college. And we're going to talk about that in a second because Maria has a great question around that, saving for education expenses. But what you do is you balance it and you give me the freedom to, back to that first chapter, one about knowing your why, how you can incorporate it in your life. And my answer is going to be different from your answer, is different from Maria's answer, different from Denise's answer. Right. And I love that you're allowing us to, think what's personal to us. And I'm sure that you see this a lot, that you've got couples coming in, right? And one is saying this and another saying that, right?
Yeah, hopefully each of them are saying something, because sometimes we have situations where one's saying something and the other's not. So, we intentionally will speak with the spouse that's maybe not inputting, because we want to make sure that we're talking about both those things. But yeah, I mean, it's very personal. I mean, when you're in a couple situation, although my goals or objectives may be different than Denise's. I think being that we're married, there has to be some commonality there, right? There has to be some baseline agreement, and then there might be things on the fringe that differentiate one from the other for sure.
Well, some uh, families and some couples also find themselves having a little bit of opposing views when it comes to financing education. There are lots of different ways that families can structure education planning, and I'm sure that I'd love to hear your advice on that. Let me ask you Maria's question. Financing a college education is typically a big stressor for a family. Yes, for sure. Any suggestions for easing the stress? Such a wonderful question, the way that it's poised. Any suggestions for easing the stress of that?
Yeah, so I would say there's a couple things. One is, start early. I talk about my own personal story in the book. I started saving for my kids' college educations like 1997, 1998. My first son wasn't born until 2003 because we knew that was going to be a big expense. And, now 70 cents on every dollar that we're taking out of, these college savings accounts our growth, and only 30% is what we put in. So there's been a huge amount of growth because we started early. It wasn't any real magic other than the fact that we started early. So I think starting early is very important, and you may not start before your kids are born like I did, but definitely when they are born, that's the time to start. Don't keep delaying that, because you only have a finite amount of time before they're going to actually use that. You don't really get to delay that time frame like you might delay retirement, for example. Your kids are going to turn 18, college age, that's probably going to be an opportunity to you have that finite time. The second thing I would say is, one thing that's been helpful, or was helpful to Denise and I, was we hired a college advisor. And I think what the college advisor helped us do was a couple of things. One was, it allowed us, number one, we didn't know what the landscape was. Going to college was, new to us. It was different from when we went, and we didn't know what the landscape looked like. Two is, I think that there's this misalignment between where kids want to go to college and what parents can afford to pay for college. And, sometimes there are certain, distinct reasons why the kids want to go to the schools that they want to go to. And some of that is educationally related. Sometimes I think many times it's not. I think it has to do with other social aspects of going to that college, which may, not align with the financial aspects. So I think having this college advisor kind of lays out the game plan. And, if you have an open conversation about the cost associated with it, number one, going back to us telling our kids something versus a third party, I think it's a good opportunity to have that third party who has that conversation with them, and a frank one. And I think I would add one third thing, and that is, start early with your children. Start having conversations in middle school about what the financial obligations, or what you feel as a couple or a family, are going to be your financial input into their education. So when they're a senior and they're applying for schools that are potentially not in that range or in that discussion, it's not all of a sudden a surprise and they're hearing it for the first time. My Denise and I are both products of the New York State, college system, state university system. And our deal with our kids were that they would go to a state university, be fully paid for, no debt. And if they wanted to go to a university outside of that, we'd have to have there'd have to be a compelling reason for us to pay that extra money. My older son ended up going to Drexel, so it ended up being one of those situations where it was more than a state university, but there were reasons he wanted to go there, because there was a co-op program. Basically, he has, over a 5-year period, 3 6-month co-ops where he's working as a W-2 employee. He's not paying tuition during that time, and he's getting on the job, live, real experience, not only to see what the real world's like, but to experience what he's going to school for and if it makes sense. So that made sense for us, and we ended up doing that. But I think, going back, starting those conversations early, so that it's not something that seems spiteful when they're seniors in high school, and, oh, you don't want to pay for me to go to University of Miami or University of Ohio. No disrespect to those schools, but we see a lot of families within our circles that kids are going to those schools because their kid wants to go see a football game on the weekends. And you could probably send them to a state university and fly them there every weekend for their home games, and it costs you a heck of a lot less. So I think having those conversations early can help put you in a better financial position and better conversations when the time comes.
I love that. And I hear this repetitive theme of how, like, an advisor could, this neutrality of that third party delivering that advice makes them makes the other party actually receive that advice in a different way, makes it more likely that they're actually going to retain and listen to that.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. My older son, originally, when he started exploring schools, was thinking engineering. And, Denise and I looked at each other, we're like, he's not an engineer. He's going to be a business or salesperson. He didn't have the skill set or the personality to be an engineer. And, the college advisor realized that as well and had some frank discussions about him searching and looking for other opportunities. And it ended up guiding him in the direction that he is in now. He's in a business school, getting an accounting major, more in line with, what we felt was where his skill set was. It took him a little time to realize it, and having this third party kind of work with him, and guide him into different areas other than engineering, steered him in the direction that he's in now, and it was tremendously helpful.
Let's talk a little bit about financial planning mistakes. Again, we get a lot of different authors here, and being that you're a CFP, you're building financial plans, you're executing on financial plans, you're meeting with families day in and day out. Chapter 7 was about protecting your assets and income, and it was something that, clearly resonated with me. And could you speak a little bit about the mistakes that that you see families making as it is in regards to insurance, disability, trusts, and estate planning?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake is not having any of the above, right? Is thinking that you're going to be able to go through your entire life not having life insurance or disability or whatever, what have you. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying that you should come from it from the standpoint of some of these, big insurance companies that have, what they call financial advisors as well, who basically are solving every single family's problem with life insurance. That's not the answer in my opinion either. But there has to be a happy medium where you are creating a situation where you have protection for your family, and you're protecting it in a way that makes sense for you and your family. And I think many times it gets overlooked because people concentrate on the asset accumulation, thinking about how I'm going to grow my assets over time, and not necessarily thinking about how they're going to protect their assets. And that could mean from a life event like a death, could mean disability. It could even mean, just simply having a long-term care event at some point. There are many different things that can happen in our life, and it's something that needs to be addressed. It also, you think about it from a property and casualty standpoint, that gets overlooked a lot. How many of us have families that have artwork or jewelry, and if that's not properly protected, may put them in a financially bad situation. So you have to not only look at the asset side of the balance sheet, you also have to look at where the liabilities lie. And these insurances are just a tool to help protect against those. And sometimes the timing's not right. As I told a story in the book about a family that, we really felt would benefit from having long-term care coverage. And when we first had the conversation with them, they were in high expense years. They had, a couple kids in college. They just didn't have the cash flow to support it. Fast forward, several years later, one of the parents of the husband and wife had a long-term care event, so they were living it. It was now at a point where their kids were done with college. Those high expense years had been reduced. And, they came to us and they said, we've been revisiting this every couple of years. And I know that it's going to come up again in another year or two, because we kept revisiting with them, just kind of checking in. And they said, this is something we have to do now, because they were seeing the financial impact that it was having on their parents, and they were then ready. So, it doesn't have to be that, at the time you think that things should be implemented, that it has to be done in that moment. Sometimes it is urgent, but other times it's just a matter of presenting, showing, how it works and how that protection works, and letting the family kind of come to their own understanding, and just revisiting that over time, and checking in and say, listen, I know we had this conversation 2 years ago. Has anything changed that would warrant us to revisit that? Do you feel any differently? Because in your heart of hearts, if it's right and it's needed, then you should be addressing that over time. But one of the biggest mistakes is kind of not thinking about dying, not thinking about being disabled, not thinking about those things. It happens all the time. And if you don't think about it, there are plans out there for you. You just have no control over them. By implementing some of these strategies, you then gain control, and you can, really impact some of those critical financial events, or the impact that one of those events might have on you or your family's life.
That's I got to give you a heart for that, and got to just, emphasize the importance of that. You're 100%. People who are taking really good care of themselves find themselves in situations, in horrific life situations that we never envisioned again. And because, we think like that's our way. We think that we can control everything, and we can't control everything. So thank you for the hearts. That's a great reminder. Another incredible question. I really love what's coming in the chat today, and this is from Bonnie. Bonnie, thank you so much for this question. Is there an appropriate age you suggest kids get involved in a charity or cause, such as mental health, but in such a way that they actually get it? And does writing a check versus volunteering time matter? Does it make them more committed to philanthropy long term? I'm sure that you, through your own kids and the Keith Milano Foundation, we would love to hear what you and Denise have to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, the earlier the better. I mean, our kids, when early on, we used to do a golf outing where an annual golf outing we did for about 10 years. And my kids, from the time they were able to walk, were selling raffle tickets at that golf outing. It's been ingrained in them. So there are many different ways from, volunteering. I don't know that the young kids really understand or will get the concept of the check writing component part, right, at an early age. As they get older, that might become a little bit more relevant for them. Another way that we've been having conversations with the families we serve is, about donor advised funds. If a family is making contributions or making monetary donations to a charity or various charities over the year or over the years, why not do that to a donor advised fund? Get the family involved, where each person in the family gets, around holiday time, they can find a charity of their choice, something they're interested in, and then they make a pitch to the family saying, hey, this is why I'm passionate about this. This is what I think should go. And then ultimately the family will vote to who they feel or where they feel would be best, and then direct that donation. It creates this environment where not only are they making that monetary donation, but it's forcing them to learn a little bit about a charity, learn about what they do, and then kind of negotiate or present to the family on what it is. So it gets them involved in the process, and I think that creates a win-win-win, a win for them, a win for you, and a win for the charity.
Yeah, and you're not only making financial planning personal, but you're making it fun.
Yeah.
I wish that we had those types of conversations again, or all of our parents did the best job that they possibly could. But I like this idea of just incorporating and weaving these topics, and in a way that actually makes you want to participate, in a way that makes you hungry to learn more. Okay. Oh, we're wrapping it up here. My God, time has gone by so fast. Okay. One of our most incredible questions. And again, I have to give you credit here. You'll notice on Larry's shirt that there's a question: what did you do today that brought you joy? That question is indeed trademark, correct, Larry?
It is. Yes, it is.
It is. It is.
And all the credit goes to Denise. She came up with the tagline for our podcast, and it's living on in now in the book. And I tell you, I walk through airports with this shirt, and the number of eyeballs that start looking at the shirt and reading it, the comments that I get, it's incredible. Very thought-provoking for sure.
It is. Okay, so two questions here. Number one is that how you came up with that question to begin with. And second, then we also have to ask you, Larry, what did you do today that brought you joy?
Yeah. So, Denise came up with the question itself, and it was really when we were coming out or launching the podcast. She's like, we really need to have a question that we ask every guest. That's like our signature, signature question. And that's what she came up with. And I was like, wow, that's great. And, to a person, almost everyone comes back and says, what a great question. And it allows us to weave the joyful aspect into each of our podcasts. So, I give her all the credit in the world. She came up with it, and I'm just the deliverer of it through my shirts and various mediums. So I'm the face, and she's the credit. So I thank her for that. And then, the thing that brought me joy today, and it brings me joy every day, is my family, Denise, myself, my boys, Zach and Jeremy. We have a family chat, and we are always constantly talking about various things that, good things that are happening within the family, bad things that might be happening with the family, but just having that connection with everybody, all the time, whether it's text or going to visit them, that brings me a tremendous amount of joy, no matter what day of the week it is. Work week or not work week. I love, picking up the phone, seeing those comments, and then knowing that I'm going to either see or talk to them, soon as well.
Fantastic. We're getting a lot of great comments here and appreciation. Anthony really likes the joy question. It really makes you think. And Kina had mentioned something. Thanks for the donor advised funds. I'm going to right now really quickly put, again, all Larry's. If you want Larry Sprung, you can get him in your car. You can get him on your next flight. He's everywhere. So again, thank you, because you both brought us an incredible amount of joy. And again, everybody, financial planning made personal. We've got some great giveaways. You'll be hearing from me in the next couple of days. We thank you not only for the graciousness of your time today, Larry, Denise, but the fact that, again, you ship these gifts to us for our audience. You guys all know how much I appreciate you here. Andrew, Anthony, Bonnie, Dave, Jamie, Jennifer, Jim, Katie, Kina, Maria, Nancy, Patty, Ricky, and for everyone else that's listening on the replay, because, sometimes we had to change the time. That was my fault, everybody. Normally we're a little bit later, but I really want to thank you for bringing joy. Let me see if I could do this. Yes. Okay. Confetti for you. And of course the hearts. Thank you both so much.
No problem. And
Thank you.
Tina, the books are signed.
Oh, the books are signed.
The books are signed. Larry signed them.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. There it is. Oh, I love that. Okay. Oh, your
Yeah,
gift, you
Tina,
guys.
thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'm very grateful for our friendship. And big thank you to Intentionally for hosting this and allowing me to share my joy with all of you today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Our deepest gratitude. Okay. See you guys. See you soon. Thank you again so much. Mwah.